The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, that is the FCCPC, came out yesterday to say that it will take action against members of trade associations who engage in indiscriminate hikes in the prices of basic food commodities. And joining me now to discuss from the lens of the average Nigerian trader is a representative of the Market Traders Association of Nigeria, Gladys Amiandamhen. Thank you, Ambassador, for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you have heard me during my introduction, the policy, I should say, coming from the FCCPC and its plan towards, reaching out to traders and, of course, clamping down on traders that are not, or should I say, that are hiking prices of basic commodities, especially food. What is your take on this?
Thank you very much. In as much as I love the policy, which ultimately would help for the average consumer, not just the traders. Now you ask, how is this policy going to work? How is it going to be implemented? Because when you trickle down how these traders get their commodities from the farmers onto the open market before the eventual consumers, you see that there's so many gaps that needs to be checked by the FCCP. There's so much that is the traders are losing in terms of transportation, in terms of those that would put in some policies, some tax that we don't even know about, especially when they have to deal with what they call, some people will call them ladder in the market. But before you drop your goods to spread to sell, somebody is saying you are paying for that.
You're paying for ladder?
Yeah, it's not ladder per se. They call it in some parlance ladder, meaning that you have to pay for the ground where your goods is dropping.
Interesting.
Yes, and sometimes the trucks that brings it has to pay. So all those bottlenecks, at the end of the day, falls back on the traders. And the traders want to take it out on the consumers. So we have so many gaps that needs to be closed, that needs to be checked for these policies to actually work. There are fantastic policies that is coming out from the FCCP, but what about those gaps? Somewhere along the line, the traders are having the bite. Ultimately, the consumers. And that's the reason why this hike remains. I tell you a simple story. I was repairing something in my vehicle, and this man only used tools from his toolbox. Only for me to want to pay, he was actually attributing the high cost he was giving me to the dollar. That's another issue. Yes, the dollar is plummeting down as we have it, but then the cost of commodities are still on the rise. So we need to check where is the root cause of these gaps that is keeping these commodities on the rise rather than beginning to come down, as the case may be with the dollar that is plummeting.
Okay, I like that you have already started to list the major issues or the major challenges that you're facing as traders. But then again, I want for us to speak regarding the rationale around the incessant hike in basic prices, in prices of basic commodities. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with me that there are do I say selfish interest in all of this, or is it a case of the gaps you have mentioned? For instance, you talked about multiple taxation, you talked about the rise in the price of dollar and all of these issues. But is there any selfish interest in, in business when it comes to trading? Is that even in existence at all?
It's both ways. Selfishness in business is global. People run business because of selfish interest.
Selfish interest.
I know, yes, there's the profit thing, but there's always that underlying selfish interest. And with our peculiar situation in our country, Nigeria, it's there. Even as small as someone selling the pure water or sachet water, as we call it, there's selfish interest. You go to shop A, that shop might be selling 500. You go to shop B, that shop might be selling 300. You now wonder, is it the cost of that man's shop is higher than this and the person is trying to make up? No, but there's a selfish interest because from the producer, you have the same cost from the producer. Then when it gets to your shop, why is it different?
Are there mechanisms that the association now, that yes, is the Market Traders Association of Nigeria, uses to checkmate traders, to ensure that there is uniformity across board when it comes to pricing?
Yes, we do have it. But then again, how many of the traders are actually members? We have over 40 million across Nigeria who are members, but we have more than 100 million traders across of Nigeria. So if you can checkmate those who are committed to the membership, to the association, what of those who are not? At the end of the day, those who are the, association members will feel shortchanged at the and dance to the tune or dance along with the bandwagon. That's where the selfish interest comes in. Everybody will say, okay, this is Nigeria, I'm taking my own piece, I'm taking my own piece from the big apple or the big cake, as the case may be. So there's always selfish, whether at the side of the association or at the side of even the policymakers. There's some selfish interest in it, because at the end of the day, who do you, when you want to clamp down, are you clamping down on everybody? Wouldn't there be self-interest of those you know who would be taken as a sacred cow, or those who would not be? So there's always selfish interest.
Okay. You also talked about, problems such as multiple taxation. I particularly am interested in this one because it is not new. It's something that, traders, manufacturers, people within the organized private sector have over time, talked about. Has there been any form of, conversations with policymakers towards addressing such issues? And if there has been, what are the results so far?
A conversation started sometime last year with FIRS. They've been very supportive, wanting to constitute or establish a system for where market traders can actually be sure about the taxes they pay and how they manage the tax system. But in our own parlance, implementation with the government can be a bit slow, because once they're dealing with this, something else comes up and it seems as if it overshadows it. But the conversation is still on, and FIRS is committed to wanting to help market traders in this form of. But we are really dealing, what we need to tackle at the moment is the what they call them, touts in the market. That is a major problem. If there's a system that checks these touts, you cannot say what's the association or what's the body that covers for this tout and gives them that leeway or that power to always collect tax for. They don't own the market. They didn't build the market. Government built most of this market. So why are the touts being the one taking these taxes, daily taxes, ground taxes, shop taxes, commodity taxes from the trade, from the market people? And because of that, they have to find a way to recoup that money, and ultimately it's on the commodity when consumers come to buy.
It's unfortunate that the average Nigerian, bears the brunt of all of this. Yeah. But still on the issue of touts, is there some form of identification, towards knowing who is really a staff of the government, either the local government or state government, whichever case now, when it comes to, because I understand that some of these touts are registered. I'm not quite sure what associations they work under, but I do understand that some of them are registered. So is there some sort of, a way that traders are able to identify which touts are registered, maybe from some form of identification card?
Yeah, it may look difficult, but there are some that are identified, and the association, Matan, has been able to identify those who are really registered, who they have introduced to the organization to say, okay, these are the association of touts, as the case may be, that can collect ground charges or to keep the market clean and all of that. But then you will still have those that are not, and when they come in their numbers, they come with their might, as the case may be, and the association's representative or leadership cannot be seated at all the market. Yes, they have small offices, but then again, the governance structure they have might not be to fight it out. It will just be to manage problems amongst their members and how they actually sell to consumers. And if there are issues that consumers bring forth, they mediate around it. But with the touts, they don't have too much of power, because there's no proper partnership to say, okay, this is the drawing line for us to engage with you, and this is the part which we cannot. So, but then again, it's something that's been managed over the years. even though it doesn't help with the pockets of the traders, not the consumers, but we still feel the government, yes, they've been doing quite a lot, especially with IFRS, as I said, but we still feel the government needs to put a stand on it, put their feet on the ground on this to help to be able to manage this situation. A lot of associations spring up here and there. Some will claim they are registered. How do you check? How do we check? But, and with our vast population in the marketplace, and there's little or nothing a lot of associations like us can do except manage our direct memberships.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I will, want to continue the conversation when it comes to, food and the price of food particularly, because even when we did hear from the FCCPC yesterday, their focus was on food, which is, a basic need that everyone, needs to survive on a day-to-day basis. Talking about food inflation, over 40% as I speak. And I remember that sometime last year, I believe it was in the month of May last year, the president did come out to say that there was, he called a state of emergency on food. So that shows, that even a year ago, Nigeria already had issues around food, and right now we're seeing the continuous rise in the price of food. There is a question that most people would come to me and ask, and that is, the price of dollar or the naira has strengthened in recent times. How is it that the price of food goes up and never really comes down? And I'm wanting to hear from you now as someone who's representing traders in the market. Why is it that when the price of food goes up, it never or hardly ever really comes down?
Thank you. You see, you said something about, is it personal interest? That's one part of it, yeah. When things, like people will say, anything that goes up in Nigeria does not come down.
Is that true? Let's start with that. Is that true?
I want to say it's a myth, but it's actually something that plays out every day. Sometime last, I'm not sure when you bought a crate of egg last. I was telling a friend this morning, I said, I remember sometime last year, we actually bought a crate of egg for 850, 950. And within how many months? It's now 4,000 naira. Meanwhile, the birds who lay this egg, the cost of it, especially the frozen ones, I don't know, maybe because they import those ones, the frozen ones are not as high to compare to the eggs that you buy every day. So what is happening? Even the live ones too. When you check the difference in the cost of it in December, is not too much. But the eggs have moved from 950 up on to 4,000 naira. I don't know what next week is going to, or the end of this week is going to be.
That's over 300% increase.
So the hike of it, it's not just about the dollar. We use that dollar thing as a basis of excuse. Now the dollar is plummeting. Now we're buying diesel with naira. Now we're buying aviation fuel with naira. Yet things are still high. Somebody building yesterday using this grader was saying that he's still buying diesel at 1,400 and something. Meanwhile, we're buying diesel now with naira, and in the oil market, it said it has dropped. So why is the regular seller not dropping it? These are the issue FCCP and others should be pursuing, not the traders are hiking this. Why, if the dollars has plummeted and cost of oil is going down? I mean, that is the reason why everybody is saying things are going up. I just feel it's sheer personal interest, and we are not being truthful to ourselves.
Personal interest on the side of the traders.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
But that's why we're having conversations like this, to hear from traders.
And
to understand.
And that's why Matan is working so hard to identify those who are actually members. If those who are actually members can speak in one voice, the ripples effect will reach out to those who are not members and begin to do. Because if members begin to crash back cost of commodities, fine. Once it starts crashing, just like the magic, I'm sorry to use the word, but magic that Onyema did with aviation, the international flight, and he stood his ground. What are we seeing now? We now have some international flights that have come up to 600,000. You'll be shocked.
Okay, so just before we go, because our time is far gone, in like 2 minutes, we want to hear from you, because we believe that traders have a role to play, in battling the current hike we are facing. We believe that there is something that can be done from the side of the traders. So let's hear from you now. What role would you say that as traders you can play, towards the overall well-being of Nigerians, ensuring that Nigerians have access to affordable food. We need food for basic survival. So where do traders come in all of this?
I think what they need to do is advocate for price margin on commodities. If a tuber of yam basically should be 500 naira, let's advocate and put it at 500 naira for a long time. When there are no issues, of course, then individual will decide the price. When he comes from the market, he will just tell his neighbor, me, I'm putting my price at so and so, and that one, even if he had bought his own like 3 or 4 weeks ago. They need to start advocating within themselves and be truthful, and that is what we are really fighting for. That is what we are talking about at the association. Even in Kano, which is taking the forefront, they had to make sure they monitor traders, even up until Ramadan and after. Keep your price at, because we are not having any issue. And good, they think the dollar is not coming down, so what is your excuse? So we are really working on our members to make sure that they stabilize price margin for commodity. By so doing, it will ultimately, and consumers will not have to speak out, but this is what it is, this is what is said it is, why are we? By the time the consumers start speaking out and boycotting those who are selling high, everybody will manage.
And the FCCPC will just come out to say it would clamp down on, traders that are
we want
prices.
to work with them. We want to work with the FCCP. I love the policy they're coming out, the clamp down. I would want to see where Matan works with them and have these commodities reduced drastically.
Well said. Well said. I have been speaking with Gladys Amiandamhen. She is a representative of the Market Traders Association of Nigeria, speaking to issues around price stability, after the FCCPC had come out yesterday to say it will clamp down on traders that are selling at excessively high prices. Thank you again, Ambassador, for all the insight you've given to us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Well, this is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of the program Business Daily, coming to you live on Trust TV. Join the conversation on social media. Let us hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts, and how much do basic prices of food, vegetables, cereals, how much are they going for in your area? Let us hear from you. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.